is the same thing that I remember my recruiter telling me about Afghanistan. It's like, oh yeah, I went to Afghanistan. It's like those guys don't know what they're doing. Like basically like shooting hot potatoes at it. Like there was no sense of you got to be prepared for this. It was like the talk was a joke until about late 07, 08.
Well, even if you were there, so we had, lead into the conversation. So my buddy was one of the earliest ETTs, the embedded trainer teams. And it was a buzzsaw, like 05, 06. And if you talk to like the army units that were there, I mean, they were dealing with the corn gall. They were dealing with like, no one was in Helmand. The British were
right.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I mean the Marine Corps.
Yeah, the Marine Corps. No, I agree with that's what I'm saying. It's like no one knew. Like unless you had been there, it wasn't even on the news. Like no one knew. Like, so like that's when I told my brother, I'm like, you're going to be a boot. He ended up going into like the like heaviest fighting, re-invading Helmand province. And they're like, his whole company was almost black on ammo. Dude, he's told me some wild stories, like complete villages that were strongholds. Like you're walking, you're like, oh, nope, we just drive through because you can't even stop. Yeah. And they were doing some wild stuff. Anyway, so I tell him that we end up starting to get all the after actions in the sniper platoon. So we're like, whoa, wait, we're here in, I think it was 2-7 and 1-6. We start getting all their sniper after actions. And we were like, we need to get there now. Like, how do I volunteer? Because they were killing platoon-sized elements of Taliban. Like they're like, oh yeah, we lined all the guns up and we just started wasting people. I mean, that's not what the after action said, but they started to have to work in two teams because they didn't want to get overrun when they started engaging targets. Like we were like, we're like, wow, we need to get there now. And then we start hearing about like dudes like the convoy. I think it was a Marine. I always wanted to follow up with it. It was in the Marine Corps Times. He was awarded the Navy Cross. It was a box magazine M14 he had. He was a DDM, 20 shots, 20 kills. Do you ever remember hearing about that?
I think so. I can't remember tying any names to it.
I don't know. I just remember it being on like a Marine. I was like, wow. And this was happening. I was like, okay, we got to figure this out. I was in this really weird transition period where I actually had applied for film school. Like I was going to go to the Art Institute for motion graphics and animation to become a CGI artist because I figured that'd be the best way at that time in 08 to get into the film industry and like Hollywood and stuff like that. And you'd get paid like right out the gate. Like it's the best job to have. It still is actually. And so I had applied for that. I was like, hey, I'm out. I declared myself out of the platoon. They offered me chief scout and I was like, yeah, I'm done. Like I did my time. I kind of just accepted it. Like, hey, it's time to move on. Afghanistan started popping off. I'd heard about the advisor teams as soon as we got back. And I just was like, blew it off. I was like, yeah, maybe whatever. And so a few months later, I declared myself out of sniper platoon. I'm about to be like, okay, I'm trying to get back. Trying to get back into Afghanistan. And then suddenly, my buddy, I don't even remember how I heard about it. There's the advisor teams have been formed up already in July. This was about August. And I still don't know how I heard it. I heard there was an opening on the one team. Like it was an E4 slot, E5 slot. Yeah. And I was like, okay. So I called my buddy Maddie and I'm like, bro, what's going on? I heard somebody dropped. He literally goes, I don't know how you heard about that. That happened like 4 hours ago. And I didn't know either. Like to this day, I can't tell you how I found out. So I call up the ETTs, I'm like talking to them, and it's kind of a fun story because what happened was they only needed one guy. And I thought I was good to go because I was going to go to regiment. So then I could then get on the team. It would be my choice. Well, come to find out 3-3 didn't want to let me go. They didn't tell me this. So the word goes up to my sergeant major for me to go on these teams, denies it. And I'm like, what the fuck would he deny that? They're trying to pull me to go back to Iraq because I was a super boot. I deployed so early. I had a bunch more. I had like almost 18 months left on my contract after 2 deployments, which is unheard of. Typically only have like 8 months left or, whatever. So he was going to pull me back to Iraq for 3 months and then send me back home to check out. And I'm like, that was like my nightmare. Like, you're going to send me to somewhere there's no action while Afghanistan's going off. Like, I don't want to do that. So long story short, I meet up with the ETT guys. I said, hey, save the spot for me.
Which is the embedded training teams. Get into that just a little bit more.
Yep. And so I talked to my buddy Herman, and he wasn't my buddy at the time, but he was a staff sergeant. I was like, save that spot for me. I'm going to go request mass. And so that was and so my first sergeant found out. He was super cool. He's a former recon dude. So he was like, he's like, if you get denied by the sergeant major when you request to go, come to me. I will help you write the request mass to the battalion commander. And so I did. I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to go to the next war. Like, why are you stopping me from doing this? So he was he's like, absolutely. And then like at the time, my platoon sergeant in Sniper Platoon didn't want me there because I'd already wanted to get out. So it's like, why would you keep someone around that didn't even want to be there? So, and I didn't want to be there either. So I ended up requesting mass, got in front of the battalion commander. I pled my case, which wasn't hard. And MARSOC had formed up. So I kind of used that. I was like, oh, I'm thinking about, re-enlisting and going MARSOC. And he's like, that's a great idea. And, before I said that, I was like, I'd like to, I've done my time. I've excelled. I'm a scout sniper. I was a team leader. I've done 2 deployments, honorably, through all that stuff in there with 3-3. And I would like to go on to the next thing, which is go fight in Afghanistan and on these advisor teams. And he didn't even hesitate. He goes, oh, that's great. He goes, that's awesome. He goes, I was in a MIT team, which is another advising team in Iraq. I don't know too much about him, but he was part of one of those. And he's like, absolutely. And then he asked me, he's like, you plan on staying in? I was like, yep, I'm thinking about re-enlisting, going MARSOC. He goes, oh, that's great. Just like put the cherry on top. Here we go. Signs the paper, hands it to me, go to the sergeant major. Sergeant major's fucking livid.
Of course.
And so, of course. And so he goes, Nagel, get in there. I'm like, oh shit. I'm getting yelled at, sergeant major. He looks at me. He goes, are you fucking happy now? I said, yes, sergeant major. He goes, good. Signs it. He goes, get the fuck out of my office. And I was like, oh, grab it, roll on out. My good friend now, Herman, I didn't know him very well. I just knew he was on the advisor team. He calls him in, chews his ass for like 10, 15 minutes. He comes back out. Herman comes back out. I'm like, hey, sorry about that ass chewing. Like I got, he's like, Herman's like, don't worry about it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, why? And he goes, yeah, the sergeant major chewed my ass. And he told me, he goes, why are you pulling my best guy to go to fucking, I need him for Iraq and you're pulling him to go to Afghanistan. You're pulling one of my best guys. And I was like, oh, I thought sergeant major hated me. I didn't even know. I was like, oh, well, thanks, sergeant major.
That's sweet.
Yeah. I was like, oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. That's weird. I don't know how I feel about this, So, so anyway, so then, I got on the advisor teams. So I guess we can start there and explain what the advisor teams were.
But a small contingent of Marines.
Yep. So basically what happened is in Afghanistan through the years, it basically is like the Green Berets came in 2001. And it's the force multiplier mission, the FID mission. And so they go in, they train the Afghans, they build up the Afghan army so that they can then fight the Taliban and Al-Qaeda and everything within the country. Well, over the years, everything shifted from Afghanistan to Iraq. So what happened is a bunch of, there wasn't enough people to cover down on the advisor missions. So the Marine Corps ended up supplementing basically kind of like the SF teams to take over the Afghan National Army soldiers to be combat advisors. So we would train them up just like SF or not like SF, but like that same mission is where we take them over, train them, and then we go into combat and patrol and do all this other stuff and all these valleys in Afghanistan. And then like the Air Force took over like logistics advising. National Guard did like the Afghan National Police, I think. Even like Navy SEALs did the same thing. Like it was, different. That was like a mission.
Yeah, because
it was
Afghanistan is such a weird place, and it's culturally so much different than anything that we're accustomed to.
It's completely decentralized too.
Yes,
every
you
valley's
have to have interactions with local allies. In order to be successful.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's no other way to go about business.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that was, honestly, in that whole tour, like, so we went into that, we were trained up on, all the weapon systems. Like that was a really awesome train up. And it was like watered down too from like what it used to be. So they used to do like the 4x4 training, or like they'd go in the mountains, do all that stuff. We kind of got like a watered down Humvee one of that. But like we did all the TCCC. We did all the combat trauma lanes, which were amazing. I'd never done them. It's like, I was in sniper platoon. So when my buddies got to go do that in the infantry, that was cool. But we were off doing other stuff.
Right.
And we did call for fire. We did air support. We knew medevacs. We knew everything in the back of our hand. We knew SATCOMs. We knew radios. We knew everything. And then plus the mission we had to do, which was then train the Afghans and then go and fight alongside them in these valleys. And so it was wild. It was really cool. And that pretty much like that deployment and that all those experiences like literally just changed my whole life trajectory. I was on the teams. We had a special forces major that ended up taking over our team because our lieutenant colonel, he had to go advise like another higher Kandak, like the super high level. And so they pulled him because he was awesome dude. So they pulled him to go do that mission. Well, you have a special forces major on your team, he's going to take over your advisory team. Like it's not like a bid for someone else, So he ran us like an ODA. He was awesome, dude. Great guy. Major Rocco Barnes. Sadly, he was killed in a rollover about, I think it was about 6 months. Well, no, probably 7-8 months into our deployment. But we'd worked with contractors. I'd worked with the French Foreign Legion, Norwegian Special Forces, Army Special Forces, National Guard. I ended up getting attached to a special forces team, active duty, that needed to liaison so they could operate. Like they weren't allowed to operate in our AO without like Afghans, which is crazy to be like, oh, special forces isn't allowed to operate, but that's why we ended up liaisoning with them. So I ended up becoming the liaison and took over the recon platoon, which was kind of like the special forces platoon of Afghans, so that they could operate in the valley alongside us and do all this other stuff. So I ended up getting attached to 10th Group, special forces team. And it was just, it changed everything. I knew all about contracting. I wanted to, pursue like that life and possibly intelligence and all this other stuff. And it opened up everything because you see the big picture and then you see the small picture and you see what's going on everywhere. It's like turning on the light and you can see everything. It's
super
wild.
Unique because you don't get that in the Marine Corps. Like,
and also
the Marine Corps keeps you in your tunnel of you're just a warrior. You don't need to know the larger mission. You don't need to know the larger landscape. It's just like, we're just going to point in a direction and you go and fight. Exactly. And so that's super interesting that you were able to get that other perspective of what could potentially be a role. Yeah.
And that too, you find out what other people do like in the military. Like you weren't exposed to that kind of stuff. Like you're very siloed in the Marine Corps.
It absolutely is. If you're an infantry grunt in the Marine Corps, you're living in a bubble.
Yep, exactly.
100%.
And so that was kind of like the big change in experience. It also was big boy rules. Also, it was my third deployment. So like everything just kept stacking on itself for experience. So we end up taking on like just myself and my buddies that we were with, like we took on this awesome responsibility, and they relied a lot of the guys on the team, as well as like higher ranking like officers and NCOs were looking to us because we were the only like combat vets. We had some other NCOs that were combat vets by all means, but like we were the ones out on patrol constantly because the other ones feel like, they do the NCO or staff NCO stuff, or the officers have to do, work with the higher. Mm-hmm. Well, we're the ones on the ground all the time. And that's where like people want to be at. Right. So, but it was crazy because no one else had the combat experience that we would end up joining up with. So we had like these Air Force master sergeants, Air Force majors and captains, and they're coming up to me, and I'm 22 by this point on my third pump. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, this is what I do. This is my life. And they come up, they're like, hey, what can I do? Tell me where to go. Is it okay if I'm here? Is it okay if I do this? I'm like, you're a grown ass man. But at the same time though, they're looking to me and looking to my other buddies that are like, I'm here. I don't want to get killed, but I'm on this patrol and I don't want to weigh you down. And it was wild. Like it was wild to see people like look at me and look at my friends, and we're like, you're the ones, like you guys are, you're it. You're the ones that we're turning to when this goes to shit. And when it went to shit, we are the ones that they turn to. Yeah. And it was wild. It was weird.
When you were on the ground there, did you get this sense that this is a different fight? The some of the TTPs are going to work here, but it's a different atmosphere altogether.
Absolutely. In fact, that was my biggest thing was, like when you walked into Afghanistan immediately right away, because it was way different than Iraq. Like when people are like, counterinsurgency, blah, blah, blah. No. These are in my own head. And, I'm sure people argue with me about it, but to me, those are two completely different wars, Iraq and Afghanistan. They are like, one's urban and one's like, I don't want to say it's conventional. It's still counterinsurgency, but there's conventional tactics and it's wild. And you have to respect the terrain. The terrain is a massive player. In Iraq, the terrain, it wasn't. Like you can, on a flat urban setting, you know what I mean? Like you can round houses, you can get to cover, you can, there's obviously kill zones and stuff like that, but you can go house to house and find, like Afghanistan, your ass is hanging in the breeze and they will overrun you in a heartbeat. And they're coming down from mountains and these guys can move and they move fast. Yeah. So you have to.
They've been fighting their entire lives.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too, is like, it was like a respect, like it was. Like it's one thing when you have like a shithead kid or whatever in Al-Qaeda and all that, but like not saying I fully respected like the Taliban or what they stood for, but you respected it as like a warrior. You respected it as like a guy that's been in war and like you had to respect the terrain, you had to respect the enemy, because if you didn't, they were going to fucking tear you inside out. And they had. And they did multiple times over the years. So it wasn't like a theory. It happened. Like they'd shot down birds. You'd seen all the stories and all the books that I've written about it. And we knew about that already. So it was like, you didn't come in being like, we're Americans, we're going to kick some ass here. No, a few months before we got there, the French got overrun because they came down from the high ground and tore through them. The Norwegians had to go in and get the bodies out because the French government refused to go get their own bodies. And so when you come into like a buzzsaw like that, you have to respect it in some aspect. Because if you don't, and you think you're going to like, I'm American, I'm a Marine, I'll do just fine, you're going to get your ass handed to you. And so when we were out there, that definitely like got into our mindset. So we were ready for that. Like we were ready. Every single vehicle was Alamode. We had dual guns on the turrets. We had saws in the back seat. We had 2,000, 3,000 rounds of ammunition. We were carrying M4 203s. I had my sniper rifle. Like we had.
You were carrying an M40?
No, I was carrying an M14A1.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, M14 synthetic stock. And I also had an M4 203. So it was kind of like, and we knew SATCOMs. I knew I could call in medevacs on the back of my hand. I had to call in medevacs under fire. I had to call in medevacs in the blind because other radio waves I couldn't receive, but I could transmit. And, call in an air support, all that stuff. Like you had to know, because if you didn't, you were alone out there. And if your radio was your lifeline, then you had to understand if you didn't have visual line of sight, then you had to know SATCOM. If you didn't know SATCOM, you're fucked. And if you didn't have we had our backup was in the sat phone. If that didn't work, you used the cell phone. So we had 4 different types of communication and we understood all that. And it was, and some people rolled in, were just like, whatever. And they got their shit kicked in. And because they don't know the valleys, there's one road in, one road out, and we don't own the high ground. And you, like I said, Iraq, we take, we get into a firefight or something like that. You can punch into a building, take cover, take the building, whatever. You're not doing that. Right. If you're in the kill zone or they have the high ground and you're trying to maneuver around, you're gonna have to maneuver for like a click to get out of the kill zone. And that's full kit. That's, you don't get to just round a corner and take cover, And so everywhere you're always monitoring the terrain. You're always seeing, what's the best, if we get shot at, where do we jump to? Where do we take cover at? And when you have the high ground, it's very hard, or when they have the high ground, which they always typically had, you had to really, take your time and observe everything that was going on.
Yeah.
And so, it was a different fight. It's a completely different fight. It's a whole nother animal. And over the years, Afghanistan too, the crazy thing about it is it's so beautiful, like up in the Northeast. I loved it. I made a photo book of all the pictures that I took, and it was awesome. I finally showed it to my wife and family, and they're like, oh, this is why like you missed it, or this is why I still miss it. The history, the culture, the beauty that's out there, but at the same time you have, it was like surreal. Like you think of shitholes of like, of Iraq and all the stuff that we did there. I hated Iraq, but like Afghanistan, it was like this beauty mixed with like this crazy amount of war and danger that we encountered.
The scope and scale for where you were at just is grandiose.
Yeah, it is.
It's grandiose. And on top of that, the concept of what you were trying to do, it was also very grandiose.
Yeah, and that's what's wild is we were alone, and this is before the Afghans started turning on the advisors. So I remember I slept in a giant tent with like 30, 40 Afghans with my team leader, with Rocco. And we'd spend the night there because we were checking up on them.
Yeah.
I didn't wear body armor. We trusted them so much that like, it was crazy. Like these guys have fought with Masood in the 80s against the Soviets. Like sometimes I was like, I don't know what I'm going to teach you because you have tank kills. Like you've taken out a T-7, a Soviet tank. Like what the hell, like what am I going to teach you? Like, these hills like the back of your hand. Like I'm basically here to give you air support and like, extra ammunition. Yeah. And so.
Were they the Afghans you were embedded with, you said you trusted them enough to sleep on. Were their tactics and their capabilities pretty good? Because the ones I worked with were
they weren't the best. They were so at company level, it depended on the commander. Some dudes were like good with their soldiers, so their soldiers were better. Others just didn't give a shit. The weapons company commander was my guy. Just took off. I remember his name, but the first sergeant was shit hot. He actually ended up becoming the sergeant major of like the commando units. Yeah. And he was amazing. First Sergeant Sharina, I remember his name. The guy was an animal, just as short, but just like awesome. Great guy. And knew English, like learned English, and he was just awesome dude. And he commanded his guys, especially of the recon platoon, because weapons company, they were along the route, but then I ended up taking over recon platoon. So then we were punching more north into the valleys and stuff like that. So they was like, there's some guys, some of the, as long as they kept the checkpoints, that was fine, and honestly, you're not dealing with like the highest caliber of fighters, but at the same time though, when we got into shit, they were pretty decent, but it was hit or miss, and we train them as much as best we can. I mean, we were like maybe the third rotation, maybe fourth rotation of ETTs that had been through. So you're kind of like, they know kind of what's going on already. And, some of them are there for a paycheck. Some do want to get into it. Some, our Terps were awesome. Our Terps were like better war fighters than the soldiers were. Those guys were like shit hot. Yep. They knew, like, especially Bosser. Bosser like had been fighting since he was 17. Took English classes. He'd been in the Korengal, been all over the place. He knew how to like not call in air support, but basically if he needed to, he could get on the radio. Yeah. So like he knew how to drive Humvees, knew how to rock 50 cals and shit. Like, oh yeah. 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 Dude was pretty badass. He was a good dude. He was my age too. We were like 22 and he was 20. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Super experienced dude. And, so it was working with them was awesome experience, especially like hearing their stories. And then when we go on patrol and securing the valley and seeing what did they want out of their country and stuff like that. And it was cool, especially the old timers that they through their stories were awesome. In fact, the one company commander, there's some shady shit going on. I think he was running weapons because he always had better weapons than everybody, like brand new Dishkos. And like, so, but they were kind of like, didn't punish him because he was like a really good company commander. Yeah. But he'd also fought the Soviets. And then on top of that, like he knew everything. He was like, oh yeah, that ridgeline. I remember him telling us one time, he goes, yep, I use that. They're up there. And we're like, how do you know? He's like, because I use that same path that's up there to fight the Russians. You're like, oh, all right. And he was right. They were up there. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's one thing I feel like there's this perception of the Russians fought over there like a really long time ago. But in the grand scheme of things, it was pretty much back to back that the Russians were over there in mass in the exact same areas.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, our valley was really cool. And there's so much history. Like I could talk hours about the history of Afghanistan, but like our valley, they never penetrated further than like, it was pretty long. It was like, I don't remember how many clicks it was, but it was like 30, 40 clicks, I think. And they didn't get past the first like opening the mouth of it. And there's these like AA guns or something that were up there and they're still there. And maybe not to this day, but they were there up when we were there. They had blown them out, the Mujahideen from the 80s, and they could not penetrate the valley because they controlled them. And it was cool. So the Afghans, when we got to them in our valley, they didn't know who we were. Like the Soviet war, they were like, yeah, something happened. And then we asked them what president it was. It was actually, I think, pre-Soviet era. Like they're like, oh, this is the president. And you're like, you're like 30 years behind, bud. And
Carter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he was, and whatever the Afghan president was. And we're like, holy shit. Like, and that's how remote things are. And they just couldn't penetrate the valley. Like, and if, like I said, they took the high ground though. And if you don't have your routes cleared, or if you don't, they'll overrun them. And that was a big thing that the Russians ran into. We were a bit different with our tactics. Like, it's not like we're fighting the Afghan people. Like, I think Russians were a bit more like, they came into into the country, and I think they ran into, I don't want to say more resistance, but like with us, it's like, you're not fighting the populace, you're fighting the Taliban. And so like, yeah, there are IEDs on the roads, but they're not overrunning convoys. That's like the infamous one. I think it was like Russian era where it was like 300 vehicles long and they burned all of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in the Tingay Pass, like we even had that because it's not the people aren't against us. Yeah. So it's a completely different war than Iraq.
Yeah. So did you have kind of broad mission objectives as far as like find the Taliban in this area and kill them? And
so when we went on our combat mission, we ended up going into Uzbek, and we built a road in, and actually they were running weapons across the valley. So when we built that road in, we actually cut off weapons and supplies going into Kabul province, which like had a massive ripple effect. I didn't find that out till later. So like the CIA, like they, again, when I talked to my team leader, years later, he's like, yeah, this happened. Like all these agencies, like they're like, we had a massive effect of cutting off the supplies from that side. Yeah. Which was like, cool. That was like, oh, we were part of that. It wasn't sexy because like we moved in and did it, and we're like, all right, well, we're patrolling the valley now, but that cut off, the weapons routes going in. So they had to reroute. Yeah. And so, because that valley had been largely untouched even through the Soviet-Afghan war. And in fact, nobody had been in it with the exception of like the Italians, which made like a deal with the Taliban that they wouldn't go in as long as they didn't fuck with them. Like wouldn't shoot at the Italians, and the Italians wouldn't go after them. So they built like one school, and then they just hunkered down in their fob. So that was it. That was the only people that had been in. And then the French went in because it was a French AO, and they got their shit kicked in. And then they didn't want to go back into the valley. So we ended up going in the valley with them, but that was our valley. And yeah.
So it was all centric into one specific place. Massive in success on the French side. Mm-hmm. And then you guys go in, and what happened?
So we went in. There's actually there was a police, ANP, the Afghan National Police, were right there. We built a fob right next to them. And I remember we rolled up, and there's like 30 dudes there. And they're like, oh yeah, you coming to our valley? We built our fob. Within a week, they were all gone. Yeah.
So you knew right away.
We knew right away who was bad, who wasn't. And then what they did was our valley kept going, and it was one road in, and we got to the end of it. And actually it was the day of that battle. And but there's still homes that we never got to. So they ran in and out of that valley into the next valley over into the next one, across and stuff like that. And so those foothills, and I always, we always wanted to push in and do more of that, like patrol that, but we were so far out that if we did get hit, which we did, at one point, is like, your ass is hanging in the breeze. Like, you're on your own. There's no QRF that's coming. No one's coming out the fob and driving through this. Like I said, different from Iraq, where we had a whole map section on us within like 10 minutes, not even, ready to reinforce. The companies running out of the fob. Like that happened in Iraq, where like we got into a firefight and like tanks were involved. Like the whole company just jetted out. I mean, so you have backup within 10 minutes. Out there, you don't have anything. Your radio goes, that's it. It's you against the Taliban, and no one knows about it. Like no one.
And what type of air support?
So we had Kiowas and like F-16s and all that stuff. Yeah. What I'm saying is, if your radio goes, that's it. Yeah. Like there's no one's coming for you. And so we always had to keep people at the base, comms, getting comm plans, if you don't report in at this point, and all our checkpoints and stuff like that. But yeah, so we made a huge difference of cutting off the weapons and supplies going into Kabul province at that time. And it was just awesome. It was an awesome experience. And especially like going into every single village and like just how like huge it was. Like, so it's like grandiose. You're just like, wow, this village has beef with this village, and they haven't talked to each other in like years. And they're like 2 clicks away. They're like, and it's wild. Like, it's just a wild way to live. And you look at these terraces and they're like, well, this house has been around for like at least 100 years, like it's just a whole different world. Like, you're going back in time, you're going to another culture. Like, Afghans, I respect the culture just because they actually like adhere to their culture, like they, the way they do things. Whereas like Iraq, they're like Iraqis, they have this culture. And as soon as you get there, they're like, no, they don't. They're, they're like westernized. They have the oil, like they're not, they're willing to, do it, do anything for like $1. But like Afghans have like honor, and they have not shitting on all Iraqis, but like Afghans, it was way different. Like there's an honor code. There's a way that things needed to be done. The elder was no shit respected in the village, even if the village wasn't big.
Yeah. Which, they're not really willing to budge from their way of life.
Yeah.
And the way that they've done things. And
whereas like Iraq, you take over a house, you give them a few bucks. They're like, all right, whatever, like it was just different. It was way different. So, yeah. And so, had a awesome, experience doing that, and then eventually getting attached to a special forces team and all that stuff, and so leading up to your battle, were you guys getting into it on a regular cadence? Not really. So it wasn't like our sister team that was in like Korengal. They got into like 230 firefights. And we were jealous of that. But
so was the enemy scouting you? Or?
Yes. Yeah. So we got rocketed. We got probed a few times. We were like right on the cusp. Like I said, it was a long valley. And so we built on this plateau, and we're like, all right, cool. We can see them. We would punch in every once in a while, and then we would make contact. So on our patrols, we'd start pushing up the valley more and more. There's a big firefight with the French that we end up QRFing and getting into it with them. I led a patrol up that ended up, we had to do though, it was such a complex to like go in further into the valley. Cause like I said, like once you get cut off, you're cut off. It's one road in, one road out. Like it takes one IED, take the vehicle out, you're on your own. So we would have to do like a bounding method with like, two sets of vehicles. So we had like, first group would have like 3 vehicles, 4 vehicles, Humvees, armed to the teeth. And then the second group would come in and we just bound. So meet up, cool. Meet up. So there was a midway point because that's how far it was. Yeah. And, so every time we did something like that, it to push further north. It was always a pain in the ass because, we could have just drove up with one truck, but then it was like you're signing your death certificate if you did that, especially on a regular basis. So we had to like really plan. Whereas it wasn't like, we just got, so we did patrol the valley and the mountaintops and stuff around us, and I always kept in tabs with the locals, but it wasn't as much action as like, say like Alizé was, or like Korengal, like that nothing beats Korengal. And or down in Helmand. I know Helmand was super fucking hot back in the day. It was intermittent. It wasn't like every day we were getting into a firefight or anything like that. Yeah.
Did you get the sense of that as you were kind of pushing deeper and deeper into this valley? You were like, it, because there's almost like this sixth sense about things generally. Like, did you kind of get the feeling that they were prepping for a larger attack?
Yeah. So what happened is we always kept pushing and they, like us probing them basically. But like I said, logistically, like if we wanted to set up like a second fob, but like where we were going to stick it, if we can even get to that spot, we'd have to airlift stuff in. So it was like the coordination effort was going to be like another piece to it. And we'd gotten our fob built out, and it was, you would feel that definitely from every villager as soon as you kept going north and north and north. Like they're like, okay, you don't belong here. You definitely, we were getting all the, chatter, like signals and stuff like that. And the special forces had like sources within, in the area. And you could tell that they're kind of prepping for some, but they're kind of like, who's going to make that first move? It's like, is it worth for us to attack them? Is it not? Because we were in like open ground. So if they tried, we were like, it wasn't like Keating or like Korengal. Like we had the plateau. It wasn't complete low ground, but the mountain was not super far away. It was, if they were shooting at us, we had plenty of cover, so the spot we had was pretty solid. Right. So it wasn't like they were like, all right, like if they decided to do something, it was going to be like, it wasn't going to be good for them. So they waited for us to leave the fob and do, push north so that we're in their territories when they decide to, put up a fight and stuff like that. And like I said, we just kept pushing further and further. And then up until, we actually did one on the other side of the valley. We did a operation and cleared out a bunch of weapons caches and stuff like that. That took them by surprise too. And they were like, again, there hadn't been an American presence. So they were like wondering how far they would go. And it was a significant distance to get to other parts of the valley. So they were like, oh, they probably won't patrol this far. And then one morning we'd show up and we'd be there and they'd be like, oh, fuck. And there was one time, it was on the west side of the valley. So in our valley, there's this mountain range that kind of like split it. So it went off into a Y. And we were like, all right, we're going to do this one morning. So we took off, showed up, and it was fighting season. And we get to this little tiny village, and literally like all the military age males all fucking like stand up, and they're all over, like completely outnumber the villagers. Like, you don't belong here. And so I walked up. We had this Georgia team that had a captain with us, and he was kind of like tagging along. So we go walking up, and it was this weird, like Wild West standoff. Like, it was the only time in my career I would have been like, if we would just shot everybody without them being armed, I would have been okay with it. Yeah. Because you knew they were there to fight, and they were wearing the fishing jackets where they put the ammo in. They were wearing black and blue and what. So, but we couldn't engage because they didn't have a weapon, and they were ballsy. And that was the thing that, like you said, you have to like respect the enemy a little bit, because it was kind of this mutual respect. I remember we like came up to each other, and he like looked at me. We said a few words, and he like knew it. Like, he had this smirk on his face, like, you can't do anything, like, and it was this thing we went back and forth. I just remember thinking, it's like, fuck, man, we could light them all up, and everybody would have been fine with it. And they're all like hunched over looking, and we kind of disrupted them, like, oh shit, they saw us, but they also knew our TTPs or our SOP that we couldn't light them up. So we just looked at each other. I can't remember what we said, but I remember told the translator, I was like, tell him this. I was like, we'll see you soon. And he translated to him. He goes, and then we just turned around and like walked back. And we, cause there's only like 2 or 3 vehicles, and they were like 30, 40 deep. Yeah. So we were like, okay, they didn't do anything that day. We went off to another side of the valley to check out, because we were doing like a recon. So it wasn't like a move into contact thing they were trying to do. And they just stood there and just watched us the whole time as we just went so they weren't even trying to pick a fight, because it was like, they knew right away that we'd be bombing the shit out of them. So yeah, it was like, you could feel that. So it was crazy to come face to face with someone that I knew I was going to fight within the next few weeks. It was wild.
And do you think those are the guys that
absolutely
ended up attacking?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Either they were, so we can dive into that too. So, yeah. I actually guarantee they were there. Yeah.
And so was this a patrol you guys were on? Was it at
yes.
your fob?
So the whole thing with the Silver Star battle, I received a Silver Star for, was I was attached to Special Forces 10th Group. We decided to push to the very end of the valley, or sorry, not the end of the valley, but to the end of the road. Like, we were going to go all the way and do a key leader engagement, and go in and just talk with the elders, And so it was kind of I want to say like an op. Like, I hate saying it's an op because an operation seems like it's bigger. It's like, but it's bigger than like a patrol. So it's like in that in between,
Sure.
And so we're going to leave at like 3:30 in the morning, get up there before daylight. So kind of surprise them. And then as much as you can surprise them in Humvees. And, I remember we had the new ETT rotation, the combat advisors coming to replace us, were on their way.
So this was towards the end of
This was towards the end. This was end of July. And so we got extended a month for the elections. So when they came to, we were supposed to leave, I think it was beginning of August. So we ended up leaving at the beginning of September. So we were supposed to be, so they were coming in, and we were staying an extra month. And so we were going to do this patrol, or like I said, I don't want to say it was an op. It was more of like a glorified patrol with Special Forces and all that stuff. And so we were waiting on them. It was kind of crazy. So there's all these like little details I always kind of remember. And we were waiting on them to do this mission. And I was sitting there in my truck. I'm like, hey, we got to go. Gotta go. And my team leader was like, no, they'll be here. They're on the radio. It was the new guys on the rotation that wanted to get on the patrol. And it was their first fucking patrol was this battle. And so there's this guy, I found out later, Gunny Rogers, he's an E7, super good. I ran into him years later, had a great conversation. Didn't even talk to this guy. He got in like a different truck. So they show up like last minute, like absolute last minute. Like we were on the clock there. If they don't show up, we're gone. They show up, like, grab your shit. Come on. Like, we're fucking waiting on you. So we all get in the patrol. We punch up all the way north, like go all the way this time. And I wish I could look at the map. It was like probably like 30 odd some clicks or something like that. And we get to the end and sun's rising up, got pictures and all that stuff. Like, it's
picturesque.
Yeah, it's picturesque. And I took a ton of photos. We all did because we'd never been at that part of the valley. So we were taking photos like for like, oh, this is cool. But then we would, oh, these guys are here and these guys are here. And so we're kind of doing that tourist thing, but also like glassing everybody like, okay, we'll run their faces later in a database. And, and here's the homes that are out there and stuff like that. So we were doing that. And sat down, and Doug Vose had joined he was a Special Forces Chief Warrant, and he had joined the team about 2 weeks prior to that. He was off doing some training, and I can't remember where, like in Germany or something, and joined the team. And I met him, and I was like, oh, nice to meet you. He was a quiet dude. I was like, oh, cool, nice to have you on the team. Nothing crazy. And so he was there doing the key leader engagement. I was there with my recon platoon, or recon squad, I should say. It was about I think it was like 12 or 13 of my Afghans, and First Sergeant Sharina, he was there. And so we sat down, talked with the elders, looked at, we're looking at the military age males. One guy came up to us, was like, hey, I'm Afghan National Police. We're like, oh, cool. He has the ID. We took a picture of the ID and all this shit. And he was like, so they were pretty cordial, like pretty friendly, brought out the tea. We, drank a shitload of tea that deployment. And like, okay, cool. It's, right. That's fine. We got our, kind of our intel so we start heading south, and, Vose wanted to, do like a side patrol. Basically. He was like, hey, let's do a patrol and we'll take the riverbeds, and then you guys will take the road. 'Cause there's just one road in, one road out, and we'll parallel. And
mounted?
Yeah, all mounted. So we went dismounted. So we went dismounted. They were going to stay mounted on the road. And then if anything happened, they would come get us or whatever. Yeah. Well, like right away, again, terrain completely separated us. So
Sports.
we, and also vehicles move way faster. So we were like, all right, we'll meet you at this valley. You guys start the key leader engagement. We'll patrol, and, cause it was, like I said, it was a bigger patrol. So we're like, you guys take the key leader engagement, and then we'll meet up with you guys after you're done, or to the next bit, whatever. So, we get off, and, we're doing big boy rule stuff. So like we get these new Marines on the ETT, and I'm like, I jump off, I'm wearing ball caps a lot of the time. And so I hop off, and we're like, all right, cool. My buddy Shuey takes lead on patrol, and I look back and I left my helmet. I'm like, all right. I look back and I'm like, all right, we'll grab my helmet. So like last second, I would like grab my helmet, threw my helmet on. So we started the patrol out. It was a terp. It was 5 Special Forces dudes, myself, Gunny Rogers, and about 12 Afghans, maybe 13. And so we go on this patrol and go into the riverbed and start patrolling. And immediately, like, we get hit over the radio. You guys are about to get hit. Like, to let you know.
From the mounted patrol?
From the mounted patrol. Yeah. In fact, it was further south. So the mounted patrol, there's a kind of a, not a blocking position, but there's a position that was further south, kind of at the entrance of where we were. And they were like, hey, villagers came up to us, said, you guys are about to get fucking hit. And we're like, oh, okay. Like, we're ready. You know, we're all ready for it. We'd been in firefights before. It was a pretty experienced crew of guys. And like, all right, you know, that's cool. And so we were getting ready for that. And then kept coming over the radio, get ready. Like, hey, they're maneuvering and we don't see anything because we're in a riverbed. We're looking everywhere. We're, you know, always observing like, okay, what the fuck's going to happen? So we keep moving, lose complete contact with the mobile element, like mounted, and they're gone, obviously, because they're moving faster.
Yeah. So how are they knowing that they're maneuvering?
Somebody just walked up and talked to them. Like, so a village, a villagers came up to my buddies and were like, your guys are going to get hit. You guys are like, we know the people in the valley.
Do you think it was because you guys decided to dismount and do this patrol?
Yeah,
that they
it
were
was
like,
because we were like, now we were pushing in more into like the center because we're always on the side of the mountain, you know, with this patrol. And it was like village, but there's a village you couldn't even get to unless you went dismounted.
Yeah.
So then here, I'll tell you too at the end why it got so crazy. So we're like, okay, I told my Afghans that we had this young kid. I don't know how old he was, but like I looked at him and we had this, you know, we did this to say flip off safe with the AK, you know, flip it down.
Yeah.
So I looked down and went, and his eyes just lit up. Like he's like, oh my God, you know, like, so I remember that we all clicked our safes off and we're like, okay, we're, you know, so we're patrolling in this riverbed and there's vegetation, like the trees in the riverbed kind of overgrow. So it's like, it almost makes like a canopy.
Yeah.
And then, so we're patrolling and my buddy Shuey is a special forces, weapons sergeant. And I remember, you know, he stops and then he takes a knee by, you know, just chilling out. And I stopped next to a tree and he's looking back at me. He's like saying something. I was like, hey, what's going on? You know? And he's like, I think I hear something. You know? And I'm like, okay. And I stop and all I hear is, you know, Alek Akbar. And they just fucking open up on us. Machine guns, AKs, the whole gamut. So everything just starts ripping up everything. Da, 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 all through the trees.
They're on the like sides of this river
they're
bank?
in front of us, like on like at the high ground. And they're just fucking shooting down straight at us. Like bullets kicking up all over us. I end up taking shrapnel in my face. And like a bullet hit the tree and then shattered and then fucking went into cut the side of my face, almost punctured out my eye and took shrapnel all up in my eye and like all in my nose, all that shit. Super lucky. Like that's why you wear eye
right
prime.
off the bat.
Right off the bat. Opening ambush. I got wounded. Yeah. Right out the gate. Stovall behind me got hit in the leg. So all this is going off. And since the canopy, they could kind of see our patrol. So they were shooting blindly at us, kind of like they knew where we were, like so they could kind of pinpoint, but they were also just they knew exactly where we were, but they were just laying into us. And so I run over to Stovall, had again funny shit. Like I whip out my K-bar, which is like, don't do that, you know? So it's like funny shit. It's like stuff you remember. Like I started like getting like, oh, I gotta rip this open. So I'm like, and he's sitting there. He's like, don't cut my fucking leg. And he's an 18 Delta. So I'm cutting it open. I'm like, sorry, you know? So I cut it and I get him all patched up. And he's like, why the fuck are you like cutting my, like take, and I did. I had like, you know, medical scissors. And I was like, I could just use that, but I didn't. I got all excited and I like ripped the K-bar off
like,
my chest.
I'm a Marine.
Like, yeah, I'm a Marine. Got my K-bar. So I started like cutting his clothes off. Like could have easily just cut him open because it was like new. So it was like fucking sharp. And so, I remember passion. You're in a firefight. I started laughing. Like we started laughing, you know, like I started laughing like, okay, this is stupid. Like slow down, take your time. So I patched him up and then we returned fire and then we started maneuvering up to like, out of the riverbed to take, you know, a better high ground.
And you still don't have comms with the main element?
No, because our line of sight's out. Yeah. So we're kind of sporadic.
So they have no idea what's going on with you guys.
They heard the fire. They
outside of
the machine guns all fucking light up. So they know we got hit. And so we return fire and do all this stuff. And then they're like, hey, we got to bound to the top of this, like to the top of the riverbed. And like, if you in Afghanistan, they have these terraces. So it's like, I think you guys probably ran into them too, but they like, it kind of shears up like, you know, and like, you know, it's like a giant hill per se, but it's much steeper. Yep. So we are bounding up on this trail. I remember, I won't forget this. I was like bounding, like, all right, we're bounding. And the canopy, like I said, it's kind of like giving us some cover. And I remember they were like, we bounded up and then the SF guys bounded past me, right? I'm like, oh, cool. They're going to go, you know, break and clear the cover. They stop like right before you break cover. And I literally and they stop ahead of me. And it was actually I think it was Vose. And he looks at me and guess whose turn it is?
Yeah.
It's my turn.
It's yours.
It's
buddy.
my turn. Yeah. And he looks at me and he kind of like smirks a little bit. And I was like, and I was going to do it. I was gonna be like, motherfucker, but under my breath, I was like, you motherfuckers,
Yeah.
so I burst through. We're still taking a little bit of fire, return fire again, but it's like, I think our initial volley back at them kind of like slowed them down a little bit. Like, I think it was, like I said, it's something that we were trained to do in sniper school. Seem bigger than what you are. So as soon as we hit, we let loose with everything that we had, so just to like give that psychological effect that we're fucking throwing everything at you. So we get up.
Have you seen any of them? Do you have any idea about how large this enemy force is at this point?
No, we're not. No, and that's the thing too, is they're hitting us from positions that are already dug in.
So you're still mostly fighting blind.
Yeah, fighting blind. Absolutely. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because we were in the, like I said, especially in that initial ambush, the cover that was going on, which helped save us, but also blocked our view too. I got up onto the ridge, got everybody up onto the ridge. We hunkered down, get a security, like, all right, cool. And then we started spotting dudes. And that's when we started lighting them up. And so like, I remember scoped one dude, not proud of this, got excited, pulled the trigger, fucking hit by his foot. So he comes around the corner, like on this finger, like maybe 50 yards in front of us, or maybe 100. And I'm glassing. I'm like, okay, cool. Scanning the area, and I see him come around. He is completely unaware that we had gotten out of the riverbed, like fucking 18 dudes.
Yeah.
And he comes, I remember seeing his face, like comes around the corner, and he just went, oh fuck. And like turn around and started running away. And I pulled the shot, hit by his foot. I go on for the second, and he's like right in my sights. Boom. One of the rifle rounds hits him. The whole line of everybody it's just like a turkey shoot, just fucking got ripped apart. It's all the Afghans are shooting. Everyone's shooting at him. Boom, boom.
You had finally seen somebody at this point.
And that's something that I talked to my buddies, kind of sidebar, that I talked to them in Cornwall. Like they got into over 200 firefights. And I was like, do you ever see? He goes, 6 times. 6 times. He goes, I saw one person in Cornwall, and he got into over 200 firefights because they all are shooting you from covered positions. Mm-hmm. So I saw that, and we're like, oh shit. And we're seeing dudes maneuver on the ridge. This happened a little bit later with the dudes on the ridge. So we're taking fire, we're returning fire. We're kind of like, okay, we kind of have a good position. And then, so we were getting hit from the north, the east, and the south. And we're like, all right, we have the west still. And the west is where the road's at. Yeah. So after things kind of settled down, I'm like, all right, I'm going to take my Afghans, and I'm going to, we're secure the west side so we don't get fucking encircled. So, or at least get hit from the west without like anybody covering or having security. So go over there, me being a dumbass, still looking to the east and the west, because that's where the fires still kind of come from. So I had gone over, and they were still kind of like engaging guys here and there. And I remember one time when we were engaging before it kind of calmed, like a little lull, I see 2 guys running, and it was, I hated this. Like I had the new guys, these new ETT guys. Well, they're running to a fighting position. They're not armed. And this is where the ROEs and stuff like the political culture of the Marine Corps comes into play. And
you're like, obviously anybody that is in this area right now is part of this.
Yeah. And what I hated about that decision, I didn't engage. And the only reason I didn't engage was because that one guy that came on patrol with me, he was from the new ETT, and I did not know what his thoughts were going to be, or if he was going to like rat me, not even like say rat me out, but be like, he shot guys that were unarmed. You know what I mean? And even though we knew they were running to a fighting position, we got hit from that fighting position. I had him in my, but it was just that thing of, we don't want to get thrown into Leavenworth. Like I got this far, and now some dude that just fucking got here today is going to like blow me up. Yes. And I hated that, making that, but I knew at the time it was the right decision. Like, hey, they know they're, they started hitting us, so we started engaging the position anyways. But it was just one of those things you had to make a call. Come to find out later, guy was an awesome dude. I could have engaged him and stuff, but I didn't know who he was. And that's that type of thing we can talk about later, of the rules of engagement and the stress that you put on Marines and infantry when you're trying to fight the enemy, but at the same time, you're willing to drop the ball on them and send them to Leavenworth for fucking, that type of shit. Yeah. So that happened, and while that was going on. And so,
How far away are you from the mounted element at this point?
Oh, far. Like I don't even know where they're at.
Like a couple clicks?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're
So you have a ton of ground to cover to get back to any remote safety.
And also, too, our asses are hanging in the breeze. We are on these terraces that are wide open. We have not the low ground, but we are exposed to everything. And the other thing, too, like I said, before I pulled that security, like I said, we were engaging dudes, and that's where I got my 2 kills. Is like I saw them, they were running, and it was pop, pop, and dropped them because they were booking away from us, but they had weapons. So that time I engaged, and so like everything's just happening all at once. We're shooting at other positions we know we're getting hit from. Again, you can't see them, but you know they're there. You're kind of taking that fire in like that direction. They were over there. So once there was a bit of a lull after I engaged those 2 guys, and we engaged some others, and all stuff was happening. We're like, okay, cool. There's a bit of a lull. I'll take the west side to go and kind of secure the area. So I go over and do that, take my Afghans. So, we're kind of intermittently taking pop shots at this point. We kind of pushed them back, like took them by surprise, like kind of hit them, and they were like, oh shit, they backed off a little bit. Well, then I get over to the west side. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm looking to the east, north, south, kind of taking some shots. Not a big deal. We're like, okay, everything's fine. And then that's when I fucking get hit with a machine gun. Like all I remember is I thought I got hit with an RPG because everything went black. Like I remember it was an explosion and it went black. And next thing I knew, I took off running down this rock wall. I had taken shrapnel right above my jugular, like right into my neck, took shrapnel all into my forearm. And then I ended up finding out later when I was in the shower, I took another bullet graze right above my femoral.
Jesus.
Yeah. And I remember I took off running. It was all just like everything happened so fast, but at the same time, I remember everything I thought to myself as I was running. Like everything happens at like it's middle seconds, but at the same time, it feels like forever. So I'm running like down, and I remember the bullets are kicking up next to me. I'm checking my neck. Like I could be like, okay, like I don't feel blood shooting out of my neck. It's on fire though.
Yeah.
Like my neck is on fire. My arm's on fire. I didn't feel this graze, and I'm running. And I remember telling myself, you're not fucking dead yet, so keep fucking fighting. And that's exactly what I remember thinking to myself to this day. That's exactly what went through my head. And so I'm running across this rock wall, or not across, sorry, like paralleling it. And I'm just pop, pop, pop. Everything's fucking just going up all around me. And I remember seeing one of my older Afghans. He was like one of my snipers, my DDM. And he's looking at me. He's just going, God. Just like come to me, and
all of this is probably happening in slow motion in your head.
Yeah, and the thing was,
fractions of a second.
I remember calculating in my head the rock wall. If I stopped and tried jumping, I wouldn't make it with all my gear. So I was like, I remember like the path started getting a little higher, and the rock wall is the same height. So it's like I remember at a certain point, I'm like, okay, this is where I jump, and that's what happened. So I kept running, and I remember seeing I just rolled, like did a leap, everything I had to get my whole kit and me over the rock wall to get behind some cover. And so that happened, return fire, and that's when all hell broke loose. That's where we started getting slammed from every fucking direction, and we got surrounded. So taking fire from the west side, I'm engaging with my M14 from like these buildings, again, putting down cover fire, anything that we can do just to keep their heads down. And it becomes like, everybody thinks like it's Black Hawk Down where we're seeing people pop up on roofs and you're dropping them and shit. It's not. Like, I'm sure you've been that same, I don't know, you might be in that same situation. It's like, you're just returning fire to keep the heads down. It's almost like psychological pulling back and forth. You get shot at, you stick your head down. You're going back and forth and engaging these areas, and we're just getting hit from all sides. So I go through go back down, and I look up and I see, I check myself. I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay. I'm alive. Everything's, like I'm not bleeding out.
Because the medic has already been hit.
No. So the medic it was a different, the medic didn't get hit. It was the chief, the chief warrant got hit. Eventually he does. So I haven't got to that point yet. So they're battling it out on their side too. So it's like things that like we've talked to over the years that like you're unaware of. Like I'm in my world, they're in theirs. And those guys are engaging as well. And like I said, all hell breaks loose. And so I look up and I see Gunny Rogers, And I'm like, fuck, he's dead. Like he's face down. And immediately like, I'm going to have to go get his body and bring him back or bring him over the rock wall. And the other thing too is like, we can't let him take his body because he's in the middle of like not a rice paddy thing, but it was like these, it's where they did their farming. It was wet. And so it was like, there's water down. And it was, and it was these terraces that kind of dropped and stuff. And I remember looking at him, I'm like, fuck, he's dead. Like, I'm gonna have to go get his body because if we leave him there, which I'm not gonna do, they're gonna take his fucking body. And because we're surrounded, we're cut off. So everything's going through my head. And so I shout for him twice, no answer. And I was like, all right, one more time, I'll call for him. He answers. I was like, oh my God, like, dude, like, like, thank God he's alive. But what he did is he just hit the deck. And like, I don't want to say, like, I don't want to speak for him. I've talked to him once after but I haven't heard from him since, he's not on Facebook or anything. And, I don't want to speak for him, but like, I think he was playing dead. Like he was just like, because he was just laying there. There's no cover. It wasn't like he was like, oh, behind a mountain. I mean, there's nothing. And, so I call from him. Hey, I was like, hey, I'm going to give you cover fire on 3, run, So I return fire, giving him cover fire. He starts to zigzag, the infantry zigzag, and he jumps on the rock wall. And this is the part where I knew was too tall. So I'm like shooting at dudes that are up in the buildings, and he jumps, fucking gets stuck. So I have to grab him, and I'm fucking firing with one arm and pulling him over with the other, like just to like pop, 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 bringing him over, and then reloaded everything. I was like, how are you doing? Are you okay? You hit? And he's like, oh, I'm good, and my, again, worst case scenario, my fucking radio antenna, because I thought I'd be high speed that fucking patrol, stuck it like an asshole, like the SF guys do on my back, my M-biter. Yeah. So it's like this, and it's like an M-biter is a radio, and and the antenna sticks out like this. It fucking got ripped out. It's gone. So my SAT's gone, or my line of sight's gone, and my fucking SAT's gone. It's like, awesome. That's cool. So
you're completely surrounded with no comms.
Exactly.
And you got to fight your way out of this.
Yep. Worst fucking case scenario. So I set him up. I'm like, hey, cool. You good? And I was like, check my neck. And, again, I'm like, check my neck, like make sure I'm not bleeding out. And I was like, okay, we got to get our comms up. We got to, so we're just all kind of not even war gaming, but we're just talking to each other. And again, I don't even remember what we were talking about. We were kind of like, okay, you set up security over here. I'll set up over here. And, all next thing I hear is man down. And that's from the SF guys. So I hear man down, like just a blood curdling screech of man down. And I hear it again and I shout back. I'm like, how bad is it? So to preface this, on the advisor teams, I had a really awesome corpsman, Doc C. He trained us on everything. So we carried around, we had to do everything on the embedded trainer teams. So we were really good at fucking medical. Like I won't say we're just as good as corpsmen were, but we were really fucking good. Like we could do, chest dressings. We could do, not amputations, but like blown off limbs, all that stuff. At least something that we could take care of, sucking chest wounds. And, so we always carried a medical satchel on us. So we had like everything. And so like, all right, I shout back to him. I say, hey, what's, how bad is it? And he just keeps screaming, man down. Yeah. I was like, okay, like fucking, hey, walked over to Gunny. I was like, hold the fucking west side. I got to go check this, or not check it out, but I'm going to go run over to him. So I take off running. And like, again, like I'm running across these, I remember it being wet, and it's, again, like ass is hanging out in the fucking open, running across. It was probably maybe like a 50-yard run, maybe longer. And I jumped down. I remember jumping down like 3-4 feet, like doing like a leap down, and then, kept moving. Got to him. Come to find out later, my buddy Shuey saw me running and doing that shit. And like, you're so zoned in. And so like, I need to get to him. He was like, dude, I fucking saw you running. There's fucking rounds and bullets kicking up all around you. And I'm like, I didn't know, like, you're just so zoned in. Yeah. And I shouldn't say it was cool doing the after action when we all sat down and kind of hung out together that night. And we're like, what happened? So we were asking, hey, what happened? And he told me, he was like, dude, you were just fucking tracers and bullets were fucking flying all around you. And I was like,
you didn't hear anything. You didn't see anything. Just totally focused.
Totally focused. Got to get to him. No matter what happens, I have to get to him. And, so I run across, and get to him. And Justin, God bless him, that was like his friend. So he went into like just shock. Like, it was his, one of his good friends that just got shot, and he got shot kind of like higher, and it looked like a sucking chest wound, but the way it angled and hit, like later on we found out like unless we could get him to a hospital, he could have lived, but there's nothing we could do for him out there. But that's kind of like, that's like a side note. And so we found that out later, but I got to him, the 18 Delta, the SF medic, they were all engaged. They were like within grenade throwing distance. So they were throwing grenades. They were engaging back and forth. I was engaging up on the ridge, and I was back to where we were actually, because they hadn't moved, and he had gotten hit, and there's a rock wall, and there was like kind of like a lip, and then it went out and it dropped down. He got hit on that lip. So I jump over the rock wall, which would be protection essentially. And it's like, I see it. I remember seeing Justin. I talked to Justin, and Justin's like kind of in a panic. God, like I said, not to
his best friend.
His best friend just got hit. Yeah. He's in shock. And I remember he's like, he's hit. And, I look at him, and I'm looking, and he's the commo sergeant. So I look at him, I grab him, I said, hey, Justin, get us on comms, get us air support, get us out of here. Like, I need you. He goes, okay. It's like, give someone a task, give him a task. Yeah. His task is to get back on the radio, get our support. And so I said, I'll handle those. I have them. Don't worry. He goes, okay. So he started getting on comms, started to raise comms and stuff like that. I go back to Vos, and I can just feel the fucking air pressure around me. Just every bullet just going by, because like I said, your ass is hanging out in the open. And he was like, I remember the way even like was laying was like on a rock that just like was just open to the world. Mm-hmm. And so I started working on him right there. Like I was like, I got to get to him. So I immediately cut off his chest rig, and I could just feel the bullets kicking up all around me. You could kind of see him like kick like right next to me. I was like, fuck. But again, like I remember that stress, and I remember that the like the overpressure of like the air coming by me, but at the same time, I'm like, I just have to fucking do this. And so I started working on them, patching them up, returning fire at the same time, engaging. They were probably within like 25 yards or so, like even with like the next, I don't want to say it's a ridge. It was like the next finger over was like just right there. It wasn't like, it was like, oh, that's 100 yards, 200 yards away. It was like right fucking there, especially in that terrain. And they were kind of hitting us from the north, like all directions. And then, so I started working on them, patching them up, and returning fire back and forth. And at one point it got so bad that like, I just needed to get them off of me. So there's about an area that was about 10, 15 yards away that I knew I was taking fire from. And so I just pulled out my pistol and just started fucking lighting them up with my pistol just to put down anything I could. I started running black on ammo. In fact, my M14 had run out. That's why. So I grabbed my M9, the shittiest fucking weapon on the planet that I'd never shot, by the way. Like we had shot maybe not even a handful of times, but never in a qual. Like not even qual. Like all I knew is you had to flip off the fucking switch and then squeeze the trigger. Like that's it. Like that's all I knew. And so I'm engaging with that. So I had my hand on his chest, doing a sucking chest wound, and then engaging with my 9mm. And at the same time, I knew they were closing in. So that's where like I knew that I was going to die with them, or they're not taking his body, because that was huge back in the day. If you could get a body of an American or a body of a NATO force, it was like huge, especially psychological warfare. Yeah,
because you saw what they did with the bodies from Operation Red Wing. And it's
Iraq, they would take guys like the news reporters and we've seen all the videos of them cutting their throats and cutting their heads off. Yeah. Like, we're not going down like that. And especially you don't leave anybody behind. And then in my own head, it was like, not only leaving them behind, if I need to die here, then I'm going to die here, but we're going to die here in a pile of brass together. Like that was it for me. That was everything. And so I was working on him. So I'm engaging with my pistol. Again, I wouldn't want to say it's a lull, but there again, I'm shooting back and forth, and finally like they take cover wherever the fuck, holster it. And the worst part was he started getting better, and that sucked because I could see the life in his eyes come back. I remember him taking a breath and being like, and like his eyes came back.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, awesome. He's going to fucking make it. Like he can make it, but worst case scenario, no comms, we're cut off. The only way isn't by air. The fucking vehicles ain't going to get here. And that's kind of like the bigger picture was they hit the convoy that we were on, or I shouldn't say convoy, but yeah, the next patrol element, the mounted, they started slamming them. So like I said, I'll kind of tell you why everything happened in the end here. And so that happens, you know, I was like, fuck, okay, he can make it. He can make it. He can make it. We're still taking rounds. The 18 Delta finally comes over. Again, I shouldn't say finally. He was, you know, they were fucking in their own like 10, 15 meter
this
battle.
was an eternity.
Yeah, it's an eternity. Like it feels forever. He comes over, me and him start working on him together, but we finally pick up his body and move it, you know, into cover. So like the rock wall right behind us, we find like, hey, we got to move it. At the same time, I'm engaging again. So I pick up his saw. So he was carrying a squad automatic weapon, the 18 Delta was. So I pick up his saw and I start engaging with the saw just to give us some more cover and so that he can work on them. So I'm engaging and doing that, bring our shit back over the rock wall, grab Vose's M4. So I'm like ready to use his M4 then too. So we're lined up, we're working on him. We had kind of beat them back enough to where we can start working. And then we kind of close the perimeter a little bit where now our guys are engaging and me and him. So me and the 18 Delta are working on Vose, getting a vein in, getting an IV in, all this shit. You know, I'm still aware of what's going on. And I just remember we're working on, then he's like, the life started coming back out of him. And that was like the worst part was we needed, like, it was just, we didn't have the time. Like we need to get him to the hospital. And that was, we need to get him the medevac and we couldn't get the medevac in. So I remember we kept working on him. And I was just like, you know, and we're like, fuck. And, you know, you don't quit, especially on anybody. Like that's the number one rule, especially like, at least we were trained the TCCC. You never stop working on anybody at any time until that bird comes in. So you keep doing CPR, you keep working IVs. Like we got the IV, we're putting anything we could, just in case there's a miracle or something that happens. Yeah. And I remember looking up and we were working on him. I look up and there's another like hill and I see two fucking like Taliban running up the hill to the next fighting position. I mean, this, like I could see it. Like it's like they get to that fighting position, like, and I was about to grab my rifle. I'm going to engage him, but I look up and it's processing in my head right away. It's like, they're going to get to that and it's going to get fucking rained down on us. And I remember I look up and I see him and I just thought to myself, I was like, oh, this is going to be a long fucking day. And immediately, as soon as I thought that, I fucking see two rockets go bam, bam, light these dudes up, blow them apart and go and a fucking gun run goes right up.
Oh my God.
Like, holy shit. And I look up, it's like out of a fucking movie. Since that day I've said this, it's like out of a fucking movie. A Kiowa comes screaming in and just fucking circles us and starts like lighting up positions. And it's like, yeah, like I said, it's out of a fucking movie. Like it was like, I remember thinking that and it was like, okay, I'm strapping in for a literally long, bad fucking day. And that just boom. It was like, just like, oh my God, like the energy just came up. And so energy within a battle like that. And
Do you feel like you were processing everything at like a whole nother level?
Yeah.
As I'm listening to you go through this, even now your recourse of this, you were tunnel vision when you need to be, and then you were aware and highly processing everything when you needed to.
Yeah. And I think that was, it's weird. So it's one of those things where I've talked about this more recently with some friends. We'll get back to the battle, but to that point, I was on my third deployment, like within 3 years. So I don't want to say like I got good at war, but I knew how to handle it. Like, and that mentality of like, I remember going over and it's like, this is it. If I die, I die. Like I accepted death. And that's like a whole nother conversation of like accepting your mortality. Mm-hmm. Like death does, like my wife asked me, she's like, "Do you scared?" I was like, I'm not scared of death. Like it doesn't scare me. It's, to me, it's the next journey. And when you're doing what we did, like I was completely committed. Like I didn't plan on coming back. If I didn't come back, I hope that I died. That was like our thing in the infantry. It was like, if you die, then die in a pile of brass. Take everybody out, as many guys as you can, take them with you. And like, I took that to heart. Like, and it never, like, you can't be like, oh God, I hope you can be like, oh God, I hope I make it out. But like in those moments, and like when you have to function at a high rate, like you said, to process all that stuff, like it wasn't, I don't want to say it wasn't new to me, but I had enough experience at that time that when that happened, like I was ready to die, but I was also like, this is what I need to do. I remembered my training. I remembered everything I had to do, even with my radio shit out, like, all that stuff. I remember my, my medical training and to stay calm, even though I just got wounded twice in the same, within, I don't know how long. And yeah, I always thought that like I was processing it just because I had so much experience up to that point. You know what I mean? It's like going in, when that happens, I don't want to say that you're ready, but like, it's like the more experience that you gain, the better that you perform.
Yeah. With proper training and experience, exactly. Like what a human is truly capable of under extreme amounts of stress.
Yeah. I mean, if this was like my first deployment, like I don't know how I would have handled it. Like, it's like everything that happens, you just get better and you learn from it. And so all my experiences that from my first to my second to all the training, everything came into that apex of a moment, or into that battle. And, so that happened. The Kiowas came in, they're engaging. I'm like, oh, okay, awesome. I start working on VOs again. And then our element finally showed up. So the west side finally got closed off, from getting fired at. They show up. Another funny thing, my buddy Gilbert, who's a corpsman, just like he was tunnel vision. So he runs to us and I see him and I'm like, awesome, Gilbert's here. And he jumps down and he like, comes over, takes a knee like 10 yards away and just starts looking out. And I'm like, Gilbert. And he's like, Gilbert. And he's like, oh, there you are. I'm like, dude, we're like, there's no brush. Like, you know what I mean? There's nothing in between us that you wouldn't see us. But he didn't even know we were there. And he was like 10 yards away. And he was like, oh my God. So then he comes over. I was like, hop on with Stovall, who's the 18 Delta. I'm going to go fucking start returning fire again because we're still taking fire.
Yeah.
So medevac's coming in. So, all right, I hop on, I end up grabbing, I think I had a few bullets left in my M14. And I remember grabbing that and the other guys came some more, the embedded trainers came, my buddy Murphy, a few other guys. And Justin got the medevac, got the comms out. Medevac's coming in. We're still taking fire. I was like, okay. I was like, we got to stop. So I gathered everybody up. I said, we can't let the bird get fucking hit, but we have to get this bird in. So I said, we're going to coordinate and we're going to give cover fire to the birds when they come in. I said, we can't let them get shot down. So I was like, if they get shot down, we're all in a fucking world of hurt. Again, reading, like it's all this is processing because you'd known about Lone Survivor. We had known about other after actions. We had known about other things getting shot, like other helicopters getting shot down in the valleys. So I was like, we have to, so what I did is I took everybody, I showed them all the firing positions that we're taking fire from. So as soon as the birds started coming in, I coordinated a cover fire. So as soon as the first one came in, we started lighting everything up. The first bird does a mock. It was like a mock land. So it could draw fire as well. So we were like coordinating with them. Yeah. So it came in, took off, took a little bit of fire. Then we really hit the fucking positions, started engaging all the spots. That one came in and they landed. I mean, there wasn't much of a space to land in. They land in. I remember looking back, they got Vos in and got them off, and we were still engaging, all the positions they were taking fire from. It's like, okay, coordinate that, they get off. Come to find out later, I talked to my buddy, 2 RPGs fucking shot over the top of the fucking bird that we're giving cover fire for. Damn. So if we wouldn't have done the cover fire, they would have had a clean shot, would have fucking shut the bird down. So we mitigated the fact that a fucking Black Hawk would have went down about 30 yards behind me with, God knows how many dudes on it. Plus, our team, our Afghans. I mean, that would have been like catastrophic casualties in the middle of this battle. So get them on the bird. Another funny story, again, I was talking with Shuey, they're bringing Vos onto the bird. He tells me this. He said it must have been like an SF dude or somebody that rides along with them, So he hops out. He said he saw the dude hop out. And he looked at his face as they're bringing the gurney, and he hops off. He goes, "Holy fuck!" and just starts lighting. So again, all these small stories come together after of how big this thing was, and we're in our own little contingent, our own little silo, trying to stay alive, do what we have to do, get everybody out. No one gets left behind, And so the bird takes off, gather everybody up, move back to the road, walked back up to the road. I was last man on the battlefield. Same thing. I was like, hey, everybody up, send them back. And so me and Shui, like, were the last ones. We bounded back together and we're the last ones out. And then we got to the trucks. I'm fucking shot up. My black on ammo, it's completely gone now. Like the little minimum ammunition I thought I didn't have, it's gone. Or, I used for the cover fire. And switch over the M4203, which I wish I had the whole time because we set the M4s to full auto and I had like 8-9 mags and a grenade launcher would have been pretty sweet during that whole fucking time. Yeah. The M14 did well though. She held up and I got my first kills on that. So, and performed great. And, so we hop in the vehicles and I'm just like, fuck it. It was great. Like I felt relieved, but at the same time, we have to move back down the valley. So I got into the truck. And again, like the new ETT, they looked at me like, why are you wearing a helmet without a fucking, without a cover on it, that they were giving that fucking look. And I'm like, I just looked at them like, fuck you guys,
This is not important whatsoever right
exactly.
now.
And they kind of like looked and it was a whole thing. And so they moved down the valley, we all moved down the valley and we're taking pop shots. And my buddy who's front element is like, they're like, yeah, you're not taking friendly. They're like, you're going to stay in the middle with us, but we're still taking fire. And they took, I shouldn't say the brunt of it, but they were taking RPGs and stuff as we moved back down the valley. And then they returned fire and then we got back to the fob and that was it. And in the end, after we had like our silo, we knew what happened with us. Found out the force was 75 plus Taliban that were coming down on us. We'd found out that intel came back and said, yeah, they had a key leader, like high level Al-Qaeda, Taliban, whatever the fuck, meeting that week. So that week that we decided to do that patrol, all the high level commanders within the Taliban and like Al-Qaeda, I can't remember what they were at that time, whatever the fuck they called them, were there in our valley. In that village. Yeah. So that's why so they had all their fighters and they basically wanted to flex.
Yep.
So they were like, these motherfuckers are in our territory. And that's what caused it. And so all three elements, it was highly coordinated. All three elements got slammed. So that's why it took them so long to come get to us. The southern element got blasted. Our mobile element got blasted. And then they were coming for us. That's why they sent out most of their force to encircle and to try to take us, to overrun us. And like I said, guys got within about 15, 20 yards or so. And we were just shooting back and forth, and then obviously, either I know Stovall was doing grenades. I was doing M14 and pistol and, just keep them off our backs, just trying to and then I started working on bows the most. And then Shui was engaging. It was crazy. So that all happened and, get back. And like I said, it was just that mentality of like, they got so close and it was, and all the bullets kicking up around me and the just feeling that air pressure of just rounds kicking around me. And, it was pretty wild. And, I didn't, at the time, just my whole mentality was they're not taking them. Like they're not taking the body.
Oh.
Yeah. So, anyway, so we ended up finding out, the 75 plus fighters, we ended up killing, 3 top one of the, I think we ended up, what it was like, we killed 3 high value targets, like not knowing, like high level commanders. So like the SEALs, like, JSOC came down, it's like CIA. They're like, so you just like took out 3 of our guys on our top list. So we have to reorganize.
Wow.
Wow. So it was like some funny shit like that. We're like, oh, we didn't try. Like we, we didn't know. And, but they were like, no, that's totally cool. But we ended up finding out like one of the commanders that were, killed, the Taliban commanders, like had killed a Kiowa pilot. Like his men killed a Kiowa pilot. Like it was one of his friends got shot while they were on a mission. They knew who coordinated. And so it was like it was a big deal that in that AO that we killed 3 of those guys. And, and so.
Which was an AO that, saw a lot more action in the future.
Yeah.
But maybe a story for another day.
Yeah. It was, it was pretty crazy. Or yeah, got a little crazy. And yeah, so then, like I said, we, you know, all the fighters came down, found out the intel with the commanders, and, you know, found out from the stories that everybody else of like how big of a scale this whole thing ended up being.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
Well,
that's the story.
Yeah. Well, dude, thank you so much for getting into that. It's truly incredible story, and you know, I'm super glad to have a human of your caliber.
Oh man, I appreciate you
part
guys
of the team now, man.
hiring me on. It's been awesome. It's been awesome. It's been great. So, but yeah.
All right.
No, yeah. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much, and we'll do this again sometime.
Hell yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Well, thanks for having me.